Have you ever felt a mysterious force stirring within you, as if an ancient power is waiting to awaken? Welcome to Secrets of the Ancients, where ancient mysteries awaken. Kundalini energy is often described as a dormant, coiled serpent lying at the base of the spine, representing untapped potential within every individual. Awakening this energy can lead to profound spiritual transformation, but it also comes with challenges that require understanding and preparation. Kundalini, the very sound of the word hums with ancient resonance. From the Sanskrit kundal, meaning coiled, this sacred force is described in yogic texts not as metaphor, but as reality, a sleeping power curled like a serpent at the base of the spine, nestled in the Muladhara, or root chakra. This is not a poetic embellishment. It is a precise metaphysical map of human potential. Kundalini is not merely energy in motion. It is consciousness in potential. It is Shakti feminine, creative, primal waiting in dormancy until the individual is ripe for spiritual unfoldment. When awakened, it does not just move. It ascends, activating each chakra with intelligence, dissolving old patterns, purifying perception, and rewiring the nervous system to channel divinity itself. We're not talking about a light switch being flipped. We're talking about a cosmic intelligence encoded into your very being, stirring from its slumber to reclaim the soul's forgotten origin. In this sense, Kundalini isn't something out there. It's the most intimate, most original part of who you are. It is the whisper of the divine echoing through the architecture of your spine. Every ancient spiritual system hints at this force. In the Upanishads, she is called the serpent fire, the liberating flame. In Taoism, it is Qi, spiraling upward in the microcosmic orbit. In Christianity, it is the Holy Spirit descending like tongues of fire, awakening saints into ecstasy. In Kabbalah, it's the rise of energy through the tree of life, from Malkuth to Keter. These are not different stories. They are one story told through the veils of culture and symbol, a story about you. 3,000 years ago, sages in India composed the Upanishads, whispering their truths into the ears of disciples under moonlit forests. They spoke of a power coiled at the base of the spine, a river of light that, when released, carried the soul into union with Brahman, the Absolute. These weren't just metaphors. These were experiential maps passed from guru to initiate, from mystic to mystic, guarded with reverence. The same serpent winds its way through Egyptian temple walls, ink and gold carvings, and the staff of Hermes. The same wisdom, hidden in plain sight. To awaken Kundalini is not simply to gain spiritual power, it is to burn through illusion, to allow the Divine Mother, Shakti, to rise and meet Shiva in your crown. And when that union occurs, what remains of the small self dissolves into the ocean of truth. Kundalini is not theoretical. She is alive, and she waits for your readiness, your sincerity, your surrender. This is the ancient truth, and it begins not in the sky but deep within your spine, where the stars themselves once curled into you. The awakening of Kundalini rarely announces itself with fireworks. More often, it enters like a whisper, then a pulse, then a tide. It is not a singular event, but a living sequence, unfolding through stages that align your inner cosmos. Stage 1. Preparation. The body is the altar. The breath is the key. Long before any visible sign of awakening, the seeker begins cultivating purity through yogic asana, breathwork, pranayama, meditation, and disciplined living. This is the alchemical ground where subtle energies begin to stir. The nervous system, mind, and emotional body are slowly tuned like an instrument that must be able to bear divine current. Stage 2. Activation. Dreams become more vivid. Strange but beautiful sensations may arise, a humming at the base of the spine, an inexplicable lightness, or a sudden sense of presence. Emotions surface unexpectedly. Joy, grief, awe, even fear. These are not disturbances. They are the first rumblings of Shakti shaking the roots of your ego. Stage 3. Ascent. The serpent begins to rise. One may feel energy spiraling upwards during meditation, or flashes of insight like lightning across a dark sky. Some experience heat, others tears, visions, or ethereal sounds. Each chakra it touches becomes a gate unlocking old wounds, gifts, and dormant capacities. And yet, no two ascents are alike. The intelligence of Kundalini customizes the path for each soul. Stage 4. Integration. This is the sacred art of embodiment. The awakened energy doesn't just lift you up, it wants to live through you. Here, the mystic becomes the artist of life. Daily choices are harmonized with spirit. Wisdom crystallizes into action. The divine is no longer an idea, it walks with you, speaks through you. Illustrative story: Asha's path. Asha, a yoga teacher from Kerala, had practiced daily sadhana for a decade, not for power, but for peace. One evening in silent meditation, a surge of light raced up her spine. Her body trembled, her breath stopped. She saw visions of fire and lotus, heard bells where there were none. Terrified, she turned to her guru. He simply nodded and said, "Now you begin." With guidance, Asha learned not to chase the experience but to serve it. Her life became a river of devotion. Today, she teaches others to approach Kundalini not as something to be conquered, but something to be honored. This is the essence of awakening, not to become someone else, but to remember who you have always been and to live from that sacred center. The stages may blur, collapse, or return again. That is the mystery. Kundalini dances not by clock time, but by soul readiness. Part 3. The blessings of Kundalini. To awaken Kundalini is to welcome the descent of grace into form. Her blessings are not merely experiences, they are transformations, alchemical upgrades to your inner and outer worlds. When she flows freely, you begin to recognize the divine not only within yourself, but in every face, every leaf, every breath. Emotional alchemy. The inner turmoil you once feared becomes sacred fuel. Kundalini does not eliminate your emotions, transmutes them. Anger becomes courage. Grief becomes compassion. Fear becomes wisdom. This isn't suppression, it's spiritual digestion. You no longer drown in the ocean of feelings. You become the ocean itself. Unshakable presence. A deep, abiding stillness takes root within. It's not passivity, it's anchored awareness. You become the eye of the storm, calm even amid chaos. This inner silence speaks louder than 1,000 words. People begin to feel your presence before you speak. Animals approach you. Children stare, sensing something they don't yet have words for. That is the power of embodied spirit. Heightened intuition. You begin to perceive beyond the veil. Intuition sharpens into inner knowing. Decisions feel guided. Synchronicities multiply. You think of someone and they call. You dream of symbols and they appear the next day. It's not magic, it's attunement. Kundalini fine-tunes your perception to the language of the soul. Creative renaissance. Art, music, words, these no longer come from you, they come through you. Whether or not you consider yourself an artist, the urge to express becomes undeniable. Creativity becomes devotion. Making becomes meditation. Your life, your work, your relationships all begin to reflect a deeper intelligence moving through you. Purpose and sacred service. With Kundalini awake, you no longer wonder, why am I here? You know, it may not come in lightning bolts, but in quiet certainties. You find yourself drawn to serve, to heal, to guide, to build. You are no longer chasing purpose. You embody it. And this embodiment radiates. People feel it. Some may be drawn, others disturbed, but all will be moved, because true awakening is contagious. Kundalini doesn't promise a perfect life, but she delivers a real 1A life lived in full spectrum, where pain and beauty dance as lovers, where you are no longer a seeker, but a living flame of the truth you once pursued. Part 4. The Dangers and Warnings. Kundalini is not a gentle breezite, is a lightning storm in the soul. While her blessings are profound, her power must never be underestimated. The same current that awakens divinity can also burn the unready vessel. To walk this path is to play with primordial fire. Energetic overload. For some, the initial stirrings of Kundalini can feel like too much, too fast. Intense heat along the spine, electrical surges through the limbs, insomnia that stretches for weeks. The body trembles not with fear, but with voltage. This isn't always bliss. It can be disorienting, exhausting, even painful. When the energy exceeds what the system can handle, it seeks release, sometimes through physical illness or emotional upheaval. Psychic disorientation. Kundalini doesn't just light up the chakras. She floods the basement. Suppressed trauma, forgotten memories, ancestral patterns, everything rises. Without emotional maturity or spiritual grounding, this can manifest as confusion, anxiety, or a loss of touch with consensual reality. One may see visions they don't understand, hear guidance they're not yet equipped to follow. Without discernment, even true messages can become distorted. Spiritual inflation. Perhaps the most subtle danger, the ego in disguise. A person begins to feel special, chosen, awakened ahead of others. They start quoting scriptures, channeling beings, speaking with authority, but their heart is closed, their humility gone. This is not awakening, this is spiritual ego. It's Shakti hijacked by the mind. And it can lead not to union, but delusion. Isolation and misunderstanding. Friends may withdraw, family might worry. Society doesn't yet have language for this kind of transformation. The awakened one can feel exiled not by malice, but by misunderstanding. And in that solitude, depression or existential dread may appear. The fire within feels sacred, but the world outside seems foreign. This is why spiritual community matters. It holds you when others can't. Cautionary tale. Julian's descent. Julian, a seeker from the West, once stumbled upon a breathwork retreat. Inspired and impatient, he forced energy upward through sheer will. At first, it felt like divine rapture visions, colors, ecstasy. But within days, his world unraveled. He couldn't sleep, he couldn't eat. He felt entities watching him. Eventually, he was hospitalized for what doctors called psychosis. Only later did he find a spiritual guide who helped him ground and integrate the experience over years. Julian's story is not rare. It's a reminder. Kundalini is sacred, not a thrill to chase, not a shortcut to enlightenment. Respect the rhythm. Honor the process. Trust the timing. The dangers of Kundalini are not punishments. They are initiations. They are reminders that to hold divine power, one must first be emptied of arrogance, control, impatience. What remains is a vessel worthy of her flame. So, walk gently, anchor deeply, let humility be your compass, and remember, the fire that burns can also illumine, if approached with reverence. Part 5. Preparing for awakening. You cannot summon lightning into your being without first preparing the ground. Kundalini, though divine, will not bloom in chaos. She demands not perfection, but readiness. To awaken this sacred energy safely is to treat your body as temple, your mind as altar, and your heart as offering. 1. Cultivate the vessel. Begin with the body. Yoga asana is not merely exercise, it is sacred geometry in motion. Each pose opens a gateway, stretches a meridian, strengthens the channel through which Shakti may rise. Flexibility is not the goal, alignment is. The spine must become the sushumna, the central channel of light. 2. Awaken the breath. Breath is the bridge between body and spirit. Pranayama, especially techniques like Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, or Kapalabhati, skull shining breath, begin to clear the nadis, the energy channels that carry life force. These are not just calming tools, they are precision instruments of inner alchemy. 3. Still the mind. Meditation is the crucible. It is where the raw ore of thought is melted down and refined. Through daily practice, be it mantra, mindfulness, or self-inquiry, the mind becomes less of a chatterbox and more of a chalice. Kundalini does not rise in noise. She ascends in stillness. 4. Purify the diet. What you eat becomes what you are. Heavy, processed, or violent foods clog the system. A clean sattvic diet rich in plant foods, water, and prana creates a lighter, more receptive energy field. Fasting, when done with care, can reset the body and elevate the vibration. 5. Heal the heart. Kundalini is not escapism. She will expose your shadows, the wounds you haven't faced, the grief you buried. Journaling, therapy, shadow work, all are forms of preparation. You are not asked to be flawless, only honest. A clear heart is fertile soil for divine energy. 6. Find guidance. If you wish to climb Everest, you seek a guide. So too with Kundalini. Whether a teacher, a lineage, or a spiritual community, find a source of grounded wisdom. Not every guru is pure. Discernment is key, but the right guide will not offer shortcuts. They will offer structure, humility, and safety. 7. Ground daily. Kundalini is vertical energy. Grounding is the necessary counterbalance. Walk barefoot, sit beneath trees, hold stones, engage in simple tasks. The more cosmic your energy becomes, the more embodied you must stay. Without roots, even a luminous tree will fall. 8. Trust the timing. Perhaps the most difficult preparation of all, patience. You cannot will Kundalini to rise. You invite her, and then you wait. She knows the moment better than you do. Some awaken early, others decades later. But when it happens, it will be perfect. Kundalini is not a trophy to earn. She is a lover to receive. She comes to those who are ready not just in technique but in tenderness. So prepare not just your posture, but your presence. Not just your breath, but your soul. She does not ask for grand gestures, only a steady flame. Though the word Kundalini is rooted in Sanskrit and the soil of India, the essence it describes is woven into the spiritual DNA of every ancient tradition. Like the sacred river Saraswati, hidden, subterranean, yet nourishing all this inner fire, flows beneath the surface of all wisdom traditions. Different cultures gave it different names, but they all pointed to the same mystery, the ascent of inner light. In Taoism, it is qi, cultivated through internal alchemy and channeled along the microcosmic orbit. Taoist sages spoke of circulating this subtle energy through the body to refine the spirit, just as yogis describe Shakti's rise through the chakras. In Sufism, the mystical branch of Islam, dervishes spin in trance not for performance, but for union. Through whirling and sacred poetry, they dissolve the ego, allowing divine energy to spiral upward through the heart. Jalaluddin Rumi once wrote, "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure." This too is Kundalini's medicine. In Kabbalah, the tree of life maps a similar vertical ascent from Malkuth, the material world, to Keter, the crown of divine unity. As energy ascends this mystical tree, it traverses spheres that mirror the chakras, culminating in union with the divine light Ein Sof. In Christian mysticism, saints and visionaries have described moments of divine ecstasy, fire in the spine, light pouring from the crown, or tongues of flame descending upon them. Though they called it the Holy Spirit, the signs and stages often mirror those of a Kundalini awakening. In indigenous traditions, the sacred serpent is often revered, not feared. In Mesoamerican cosmology, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god, symbolizes transformation, the union of heaven and earth. In Amazonian shamanism, serpents appear in visions as carriers of wisdom and healing. The parallels are not coincidental. They are echoes from a common source, a universal knowing passed through time, myth, and symbol. The thread that runs through all is this: we are not limited to our flesh, our memories, or our name. Buried within each of us is a divine mechanism of awakening. And across continents and centuries, mystics have reached inward and upward to find it. This isn't cultural appropriation, it's cultural remembrance. When we speak of Kundalini, we do not exclude other paths. We illuminate the bridge between them. We recognize that behind every sacred practice, every breath, every prayer, every ritual, there is an invitation to rise. And as this sacred fire ascends within you, know that you are not alone. You walk a path walked by sages in white robes, in feathers, in silence, in song. This is not just your awakening, it is our collective remembering. In a world wired for speed and saturation, the ancient call of Kundalini can seem out of place. We are scrolling more than we are sitting. We are consuming more than we are contemplating. And yet, beneath the digital static, the sacred yearning remains. The modern seeker is not cloaked in robes or seated in caves. She may be a mother managing 3 children. He may be an engineer coding in a high-rise. They may be artists, students, entrepreneurs. Kundalini does not discriminate by lifestyle. She searches only for sincerity. The digital paradox. Today, information is instant. One can learn breathwork on YouTube, stream mantras on Spotify, or find guided meditations with a tap. The sacred has entered the algorithm, but knowledge is not wisdom. And data is not transformation. True awakening still demands embodiment, discipline, and soul. Modern tools, ancient heart. Technology, if used consciously, can support the journey. Apps for meditation, forums for spiritual connection, online satsangs, they offer guidance to those who may never set foot in an ashram. But they must be tempered with discernment. The seeker must learn to turn off the screen and tune into the self. Lena's awakening. Consider Lena, a software developer from Berlin. She stumbled upon chakra meditation during a period of deep burnout. What began as a stress relief tool became a sacred ritual. 3 years later, after consistent breathwork and dream journaling, she began to feel energy move during meditation, spontaneous tears, waves of love, heat in her spine. She sought guidance, grounded her practice, and discovered a healing gift she never expected. She now leads virtual circles, reminding others that the sacred isn't distant. It lives in your breath, in your intention, even in your laptop's glow if you're awake to it. The challenge of integration. Perhaps the greatest test for the modern mystic is not awakening, but integrating. How do you explain the serpent fire to your boss? How do you honor divine downloads while paying rent, navigating traffic, raising children? This is the real yoga, to live as a mystic in the marketplace. Whispers in the noise. Despite distractions, the call persists. It may come in a dream, a line in a book, a song lyric that hits you like thunder, a crisis that cracks open your carefully constructed life. In those moments, something ancient stirs, something deeper than logic says, there is more. And you begin. Not perfectly, not purely, but earnestly. The journey begins not in India, not in Tibet, but in your kitchen, your office, your car, wherever you choose to pause and listen. Kundalini is not a relic of the past. She is the revolution of now, and she is calling through the static, through the stress, through the noise. Will you answer? Kundalini awakening is not the end of the road. It is the beginning of sacred responsibility. Once Shakti rises, The question is no longer, what is happening to me? But, what will I now do with this fire? Living with awakened Kundalini is not about abandoning the world, but embodying spirit within it. It means letting the divine presence guide your speech, your choices, your relationships. Not through perfection, but through presence. Awareness in every action. Every conversation becomes a prayer, every task a ritual. You begin to feel the sacred in the ordinary, the rhythm of your breath while washing dishes, the warmth of your chest as you greet a friend, the silence between words. This is living yoga. It's not about escaping the world, but seeing it illuminated from within. Anchored in the heart. With Kundalini awakened, the heart becomes your compass. Decisions once driven by ego or fear now begin to align with love, compassion, and clarity. You are not afraid to feel joy or sorrow because every feeling is a doorway back to the divine. You live from depth, not reaction. You respond to life, not just survive it. Refined perception. You start noticing things others miss. Subtle shifts in energy, emotional undercurrents, the way someone's words don't match their vibration. It's not judgment, it's attunement. Your nervous system becomes a sacred instrument. You begin to trust your intuition the way you once trusted logic. Service as expression. The awakened soul longs to serve not out of duty but delight. You may find yourself drawn to healing, teaching, creating, mentoring. Not because it makes you important, but because it feels like breathing. Kundalini does not want to be hoarded. She wants to move through you. She is a river, not a reservoir. Continuous integration. Awakening is not a static state, an ever-deepening spiral. The energy may ebb and flow. You'll still face grief, setbacks, confusion. But now, you meet them as a conscious witness. Each challenge becomes another layer to transmute, another chance to embody more light. The living flame. Some days the fire roars, other days it flickers quietly, but it never dies. Once awakened, Kundalini becomes the subtle background hum of your existence, guiding, refining, transforming. It becomes your compass in a chaotic world. This is what it means to live awakened, not to transcend life, but to inhabit it fully, reverently, wildly. To rise like flame, yet root like earth. To speak like thunder, yet listen like still water. To walk the world not seeking divinity, but radiating it. This is your life now, not perfect, but true. Kundalini is not a fad. It is not fireworks. It is ancient, sacred, and profoundly real. If you feel a stirring within you, honor it. Prepare with patience. Walk the path with humility. And know this: the journey of awakening is not about reaching some peak. It's about remembering that the divine was always within you. The soul always knows what to do to heal itself. The challenge is to silence the mind. Caroline Miss. If this story spoke to you, share your experience in the comments. Let's grow together. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more journeys into ancient wisdom.